Hey, what is up guys? It is Mike here, and today I'm going to be showing you my top 10 facts about the mangle in Five Nights at Freddy's. This idea was suggested by YouTube user Juan Noriega, so thanks man. So up at number 10 is that Mangle was originally supposed to be the toy version of Foxy, the same way as, for example, Toy Freddy is a toy version of Freddy. However, Phone Guy explains to you that because Mangle was taken apart by children, it became a take apart and put back together attraction. And more so, it's actually possible that Scott originally planned the Mangle to be a normal walking animatronic, because if you look at this teaser poster released by Scott to tease the second game, you can see that the Mangle still has his hook, which has been removed by the time the game was released. And now for fact number 9 is that if you happen to glance upon the Kids Cove camera while Mangle is there, you might see him laying on the ground with an eyeball next to him. And if you check on that same room again when Mangle is gone, you'll notice that the eyeball is gone. So yeah, this is just a very small detail that Scott overlooked. Nothing really too big of course, but still pretty interesting. And now for fact number 8 is that there's actually a very small chance that the Mangle might be active on night 1. If you saw my top 10 Foxy facts video, you know that the exact same thing can happen with Foxy in the first game, except in Foxy's case you have to wait a very long time without checking the cameras for it to happen, while in Mangle's case it doesn't matter how much you check the cameras. And now for fact number 7 is that Mangle is actually the likeliest suspect for the bite of 87. Before it used to be Foxy, but now we know that that is actually quite unlikely because in the second game, Foxy is actually discontinued and kept in the back room, while on the other hand, we all know that Mangle has plenty of human contact, and also the way he attacks you, he bites you where your frontal lobe would be. And since we know that whoever was the victim of the bite of 87 got his frontal lobe bitten off, this all makes the Mangle a pretty convincing suspect for the bite. And yeah, so the most likely scenario is that Jeremy got bitten by Mangle while attending a birthday party during day shift, especially considering the fact that he was told to wear his uniform and stay close to the animatronics, which increases his chances of getting bit. And now for number 6 is that people have been reporting that it appears that when Mangle enters your office, it seems to have some kind of an effect on the other animatronics, whereas they actually get more hyperactive, and they just generally start to move faster. One explanation for this is that the Mangle's sort of broken radio that has all that static noise somehow has an effect on the other animatronics when they hear it. But yeah, do take this with a grain of salt, because even though people have been reporting this to happen, it's not officially confirmed. And now for number 5 is that there is a big debate going on about the Mangle's gender. There is actually evidence supporting both sides. For example, the evidence for Mangle as a female is, first of all, it has kind of a female look to it, and also it's one of the active animatronics during the custom night challenge Ladies Night. However, there's also evidence out there that Mangle might be a boy. For example, that the phone guy refers to him as a he, and also some people have made the argument that the reason why the Mangle is present in the Ladies Night custom challenge is to make the night more difficult, because without him or her it would be way too easy. But you guys tell me in the comment section below, what do you think? Is Mangle a girl or a boy? And then for fact number 4 is that if Mangle happens to get into your office, it is still technically possible to survive the whole night if you're very lucky. And the reason why is because the time when Mangle attacks you is completely random, very similarly to how Freddy attacks you in the first game, whereas if he gets into your office you have no idea when he's actually going to jump scare you. However, this happens extremely rarely, and usually if Mangle gets into your office you're pretty much screwed. And then for fact number 3 is, have you ever noticed that Mangle actually has a second endoskeleton head on his shoulder? And you might be wondering, why is that? Some people say this belongs to a separate animatronic. However, it is not very likely that he accidentally, got someone else's head stuck on him. And the most probable answer actually is that this belongs to a parrot, and that the Mangle originally had a parrot on his shoulder. I mean, after all, the Mangle is a toy version of Foxy, and Foxy, as we all know, is a pirate, and pirates very often have parrots on their shoulders. And this leads me to fact number 2. It's very probable that Mangle was inspired by Rolf the Wolf and Earl Schmerl. Rolf the Wolf, who is actually a wolf animatronic from the Rockafire explosion, and of course his sidekick Earl Schmerl, who is his puppet, whereas a parallel may be drawn between the parrot on the Mangle's shoulder and Rolf's puppet. And this also makes sense because the toy versions of the animatronics have a much higher production budget, to the point where they actually have facial recognition software, so it wouldn't be too hard to upgrade the Mangle and to give him a parrot addition. And now finally for fact number 1 is that if you analyze the Mangle's static, you will find that he's actually very probably trying to call the police. How do we know this? Well, if you listen to it very closely, you will hear that at some points it says 10-1. And if you Google police codes, you will see that 10-1 means bad reception. But yeah, otherwise, I made a whole video on this where I explain what I think the mangle static means, and the video my top 10 facts about Five Nights at Freddy's 3. So let's jump right in. Up at number 10 is that the Phantom Freddy Fazbear that attacks you is actually Golden Freddy. The reason we know this is because if you pay attention and you compare him to the Five Nights 2 model of Golden Freddy, you will notice that they both share some very similar traits. One ear is missing on both of those models, and also there are pieces of wire hanging out of their eye. Also, their top hat is in the exact same angle, and finally, if you pay attention to the Phantom Freddy head, you might notice that he has a slightly golden tint. So yeah, Phantom Freddy is Golden Freddy. And now for fact number 9 is that Springtrap was actually here all along. He was actually present in the restaurant during the events of Five Nights 2 as well as during the events of Five Nights 1. If you listen to what Phone Guy says in Five Nights 3, you will know that each restaurant has a secret room built into it that is ignored by both the cameras and the animatronics artificial intelligence. And of course, this secret room contains none other than Springtrap himself. And now for number 8 is that the Night 1 phone call in Five Nights 3 is actually technically the longest phone call in the whole franchise, lasting all the way until 4 AM. However, this is also affected by the fact that in Five Nights 3, the nights simply last less longer and each hour passes quicker. But this makes sense because during the whole night, nothing really happens and Springtrap isn't even present yet, making this effectively kind of a tutorial level. And now for number 7 is that if you take the map from Five Nights 3 and you reverse it, you might notice that it looks very similar to Scott's avatar, who originally is the main character from a game called There Is No Pause Button, which is one of Scott's previous games. But yeah, no one knows if this is in fact an Easter egg put in by Scott Cawthon or if it's just a coincidence, but it is pretty interesting. And by the way, this was discovered before the game even released, since Scott actually put up an image on his website of the Five Nights 3 map as a teaser for Five Nights 3. And then for fact number 6 is, you know those mini games that you play between each night in FNAF 3? Well, you might notice that that minigame actually takes place in the FNAF 1 location. The reason we know this is because if you take all the rooms and put them on a layout and you compare that layout to the Five Nights 1 map, they match. However, don't be misled by this. This doesn't mean that the minigames took place at the same time as the Five Nights 1 events. They actually took place after the Five Nights 1 events. This is pretty obvious since Purple Guy pretty much destroys the animatronics in the minigames, yet in Five Nights 1 you can see the animatronics are perfectly intact. And then for fact number 5 is by Zombie Wars SMT. He is another FNAF YouTuber and I recommend you go check him out, link is in the info below, and tell him I sent you. And the fact is that Five Nights 3 actually was released when Five Nights 2 was supposed to be released, around the same time. How do we know this? Well, one of the first teasers for Five Nights 2, it says on it 2015. And so originally FNAF 2 was planned for release in early 2015, around the same time as FNAF 3 was intended to be released. That is actually pretty interesting. I mean, Scott makes these games so darn fast. It's actually extremely rare that game developers make games like this so quickly, especially solo game developers. Most of the time the game's deadline gets pushed forward rather than backward. So yeah, great job, Scott. And now for fact number 4 is, remember that teaser for Five Nights 3 that Scott released entitled Guess Who? The one with BB? Well, if you brightened up that teaser, you could see the number 10 in the corner. And for a long time, people wondered what that number 10 meant. And surprisingly, it wasn't ever revealed in FNAF 3. However, recently it has been figured out. The number 10 actually signifies the month of the release of Five Nights 4, which is, as the latest teaser revealed, October. Awesome, another mystery solved. And then for fact number 3 is that during the phone calls in Five Nights 3, the phone guy actually mentions that there is a sister location. Now this is pretty interesting because this might be a hint to what we might see in FNAF 4. But what's also interesting is that these phone guy recordings are actually very old, which means that there was one or more sister locations during the events of Five Nights 1 and Five Nights 2, and quite possibly even before and after the events of those two games. So yeah, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. personally, I hope that Scott will reveal more in FNAF 4, or maybe even in the movie. And now for number 2 is that Springtrap isn't the only Springlock suit that had a malfunction. Phone Guy actually mentions that the Springlock suits were taken out of production due to some malfunction, which probably means that someone got killed inside that suit the same way that Purple Guy got killed inside a Springtrap. So could that other suit be the mysterious Freddy suit we saw in the new teaser? Who knows? And now finally for fact number 1 is that Springtrap is actually Bonie. In my opinion, this is actually pretty obvious because, well, first of all, Springtrap has no eyebrows, just like Bonie. And of course, Springtrap has these bunny ears. And finally, Phone Guy himself called Springtrap by the name Spring Bonie. And also, just think about this logically. Ever since FNAF 1, Bonie has played a pretty important role in all of the games. And he was present in pretty much all the trailers, which is why I don't think it makes any sense for Scott to just forget about Bonie completely. And today I'm going to be showing you my top 10 Purple Guy facts in Five Nights at Freddy's. This idea was suggested by Bruce Banner, so thanks man. So up at fact number 10 is that the Purple Guy in the Save Them minigame has something in his hand. It is unclear exactly what that is. Some people say it's possibly a phone, which would make him the phone guy, or maybe it would be a police officer who is answering a call, or something like that. But personally, I think it's probably a hacking device or a taser, because when he sees you, he runs toward you, and as soon as he touches you with that thing, it makes your screen go blue, which probably means that he somehow shut you down. And then for fact number 9 is that the Purple Guy has what appears to be a badge on his chest. Most people think that this is probably because he is an employee at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, and that is possible, but it could also signify that he is, like I said before, a cop. It really is quite unclear, and I hope that maybe Scott sheds more light on this in the third game. But if we do assume that he is in fact an employee at the restaurant, then it does make it likely that he is the day shift security guard who worked there before you. And that could actually make sense, since the Phone Guy at one point mentions that no one is allowed inside, especially any previous employees. And then for fact number 8 is that there are actually two models of the Purple Guy, and they're both quite different. It might just be that the animatronics just see them both differently for some reason, or maybe there's two different people, maybe even two different killers. I mean, look at them, you know, one is more purple, one is more light pink, you know, and also their eyes, you know, one has more white pupils, the other one has no pupils. So yeah, it really got me thinking. And F number 7 is that apparently the killer was caught and arrested. If you read the newspaper clippings that appear in the first game on the wall, it says that video surveillance identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following morning. And if we assume that the Purple Guy is in fact the killer, that means that the Purple Guy is now behind bars. However, personally, I don't think that they did catch him, because from what I see, the company is quite shady, and personally I think that they lied about that because they wanted to preserve their reputation. And F number 6 is that the Purple Guy from the Save Them minigame might be possibly an animatronic. Why do I think that? Well, like I said before, if you look into his eyes, you can see that he has white pupils, and it seems to me that it would be quite unusual for a human being to reflect light like this from his eyes. And there are many cases in both games where you can see animatronics in the dark where their eyes have that same reflection, specifically black eyes with a white glint in them. And then for fact number 5 is that there is a video circulating online where you can see the Purple Man appear for one frame in the office while playing the game. That Purple Man looks very similar to the Purple Man from the Save Them minigame, and even has a similar badge on his chest. However, this did in fact turn out to be a hoax, and it was just a fake Photoshop that someone did and placed into the video with post-processing effects. So yeah, beware, don't trust anything that you find on the internet. And then for fact number 4 is that the Purple Man might actually not be a man, but may be just a representation of the typical adult. At some point, Phone Guy says that the animatronics just tend to stare at adults but don't hurt kids. And the reason might be that when the first child was murdered outside of the restaurant, since the animatronics' primary job is to protect kids, maybe they assigned in their minds that all adults are evil and therefore have to be stopped from hurting children. And maybe purple for them just means adult, and whenever they see an adult, they think that it is the killer. And maybe that will explain why they're Hey, what is up guys? It is Mike here, and today I'm going to be showing you my top 10 facts about the Phantom animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. So up at number 10 is that all of the Phantom animatronics have the same eyes as Springtrap. This might be a hint that the Phantom animatronic hallucinations are actually caused by Springtrap, especially considering the fact that they only appear starting night 2, the same night that Springtrap was released. Or who knows, maybe these eyes are just what Scott uses to represent the generic animatronic eyes in Five Nights 3. I don't know, but I'm quite curious. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comment section below. And then for fact number 9 is that for some reason all of the Phantom animatronics are burned. I mean, if you look at their texture, it looks very much like burnt wood. But how? Fazbear's Fright only burns down at the end of Five Nights 3. One possibility that I talked about in one of my recent videos is that the hallucinations are actually visions of the future. And so maybe when we see the Phantom animatronics, what we're actually seeing are visions of what the animatronics look like after the fire. And then for fact number 8 is that if you pay close attention, you will notice that all of the Phantom animatronics actually use the Five Nights 2 models of their respective animatronics, except for one, Chica, who uses the Five Nights 1 model of Chica. I'm not sure why Scott chose the Five Nights 1 Chica over the Five Nights 2 Chica, and if it actually has any significance, or if it's just, an arbitrary choice by Scott, but whatever. And then for fact number 7 is by Reddit user The Almighty Cheese, and that is that if you pay close attention to Phantom Freddy, you might notice that it's actually Golden Freddy. In fact, it looks almost exactly the same as Golden Freddy from Five Nights 2. Both of them have a missing ear as well as wires hanging out of one of their eyes, and also their top hat is in the exact same position and angle. Oh, and also the tint on Phantom Freddy is slightly golden, which is another hint. And then for fact number 6 is that in some rare instances, as soon as you start the game, you might be jump scared by a Phantom animatronic. This seems to mostly happen on night 4 and night 5, but there is a slight chance that as soon as you start the game, you might be jump scared immediately by either Phantom Foxy or Phantom Chica. This of course immediately puts you at a slight disadvantage since it allows Springtrap some time to move toward you and forces you to restart the ventilation system, so if this happens I recommend that you just restart the game. And then for number 5 is by Reddit user Gelmerlicious, and that is that for some reason Mangle is not included in the animatronic list in the extra menu. In fact, Mangle is the only Phantom animatronic not to be included anywhere in the extra menu. Some people say that it's because Scott doesn't have a full rendered model of the Mangle, but that's not true because if you look at Mangle's jump scare in the camera when he appears, you can see that it has a full rendered body. So in my opinion, either Scott forgot to include Mangle in the extra menu, or he purposely decided not to include it to keep it more secretive. And then for fact number 4 is that the Phantom puppet behaves in the same way as the puppet in the visions in Five Nights 2, which is that it stays in front of your camera and keeps staying in front of you no matter where you turn. This is probably due to the fact that Scott wanted to reuse code to avoid having to code more functionality for the puppet. And by the way, the puppet is the most dangerous Phantom animatronic out of all of them, because not only does he mess with your ventilation, but he also distracts you for multiple seconds, which prevents you from being able to check your cameras and gives Springtrap the opportunity to move closer to you. And F number 3 is that if you pay attention to Phantom Freddy, you might notice that one of his legs is missing. This fact is by Reddit user What the Frog. So if you ever wondered why Phantom Freddy looks like he's limping, that's why. Now I have no idea how he lost his leg. Maybe it's just by decay, maybe it's because of the fire, or some other reason. I don't know. And F number 2 is, remember that teaser Scott left us right before the release of Five Nights 3, the one that says Guess Who, and where you can see BB's face? Well, if you brighten it up, you will see that BB's face actually has some Sharpie text on the forehead. Now, only 2 letters can be distinguished, CD, and to this day, no one still knows what they mean. Curious. And now finally for fact number 1 is that all of the original animatronics from Freddy Fazbear's crew are back in Five Nights 3 as Phantom animatronics, except for one, Freddy Fazbear himself. And I can hear you saying, whoa, whoa, Smike, what the hell are you talking about? Freddy Fazbear is obviously in the game. He's one of the main Phantom animatronics who attacks you. However, like I said before in this list, the Phantom Freddy that limps behind the window and jump scares you is actually Golden Freddy. But then you might say, okay Smike, but what about that slumped over Freddy that sometimes appears on the left side of your office? Well, if you brighten him up, you will notice that he is actually purple, and so he's actually Purple Freddy, not Vanilla Freddy, or whatever you want to call him. So where is Freddy Fazbear? Personally, I think we may find a few clues on scottgames.com. If you look at the image, my top 10 facts about the animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's. These are mostly general facts that apply to pretty much all animatronics in games. So up at number 10 is that all of the animatronic names in the first game are based on the species that the animatronics represent. In other words, Foxy is a fox, Chica is a chicken, Bonnie is a bunny, and Freddy Fazbear is a bear. So yeah, show this video to your friends who say that Chica is a freaking duck, because it's obviously a chicken. And now for fact number 9 is that there is a nameless animatronic in the second game who appears in the form of a naked endoskeleton. The most likely identity of this endoskeleton is Golden Freddy. The reason why is because he seemingly comes out of the gift box, and it is believed that the killer discarded the endoskeleton into the gift box when he took out the Golden Freddy suit. And I actually have a theory that maybe the endoskeleton actually comes back in the third game and is the main antagonist. The reason why I think that is because in the teasers that Scott left us for the third game, it seems like Golden Freddy could be the main antagonist. And if we assume that the endoskeleton is in fact Golden Freddy and we take the message, I am still here, maybe it's the endoskeleton saying that he is still here. And now for number 8 is that if you play Five Nights at Freddy's on the mobile version, you can actually unlock plushies. Kind of similar to how you can unlock plushies in the second game. In both cases, they appear in your office after you unlock them. However, in the second game, you unlock them by completing custom night challenges, while in the mobile version of the first game, you unlock them by buying them with real money through microtransactions. And now for number 7 is that the endoskeletons in the first and second game are actually engineered completely differently. In the second game, they seem to be more robust and high-tech, and they even have ears implanted right in the endoskeleton that they can move at will, while in the first game, the ears are simply included in the mask itself. This does make sense though, because even though the second game is a prequel, the animatronics were developed with a much higher budget and even had a facial recognition system, while the animatronics in the first place are pretty much just patched up versions of the old animatronics. And after number 6 is that it is unknown whether the puppet is in fact an animatronic or not. I mean, yes, the phone guy does refer to it indirectly as an animatronic, and yes, it does have fairly glassy eyes, but having said all that, it doesn't have an actual endoskeleton. I mean, look at it, it's so thin, no endoskeleton could possibly fit in there. And also there's the fact that you can't change its AI during the custom night. So yeah, it's definitely very confusing and unclear, but I think that's what Scott wanted it to be. It kind of seems like that's the whole point of the marionette, to be honest. And then for fact number 5 is that it is still officially unclear why the animatronics want to kill you. I mean, you'd think by now we'd know, but actually no. And all the messages the game sends to you for why they actually do it is completely mutually contradictory. I mean, in the first game, the phone guy says they kill you because they think you are a naked endoskeleton. However, in the back room you can see an obvious naked endoskeleton head in plain sight, and they don't stuff it into a suit, so what gives? And in the second game, it is said that they kill you because they scan your face and match you to a criminal in their database. But then again, how would you manage to land the job if you had a criminal record? So I guess the only explanation left is that they're possessed, but then again, you didn't kill them, so why would they want to kill you? Anyway, this is really complex. I hope that Scott sheds more light on this in the third game. And then for fact number 4 is that Scott said during a Q&A before the second game was released that he was going to include some animatronics in the second game that didn't make the cut in the first game. So yeah, I guess originally he designed and thought of more than 5 animatronics, but he simply didn't have the time or resources to put them all in, so he decided to, you know what, include them in the second game. I wonder if this is also true of the third game. You know, maybe some animatronics didn't make the cut in the first and second game and so would be included in the third game? We'll see, I guess. And now for fact number 3 is that in the first game, the animatronics in the mobile version are actually more aggressive than the animatronics in the PC version. For example, you know, Chica and Bonnie stay at the doorways for longer and react a lot quicker, Foxy is more easily triggered, and that kind of stuff. And this could possibly be for balancing purposes, because the nights are much shorter on the mobile version. But on the other hand, it makes 20-20-20 mode basically impossible on mobile. And now for fact number 2, I'm not sure if this is accidental or intentional, but the attacks of the animatronics are in alphabetical order by their names. Usually the attack order goes like this: Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and then Freddy. So yeah, if you take the first letters of each of their names, it pretty much goes in alphabetical order. And now finally for fact number 1, this might come as obvious for some of you, but the animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's could not exist in real life. Well, at least at the time when the games take place. You know, nowadays with the advent of technology, that kind of stuff could be more plausible, I guess. But yeah, I mean, back then the animatronics were way too fragile and could not, in their lifetime, stuff a live person into a suit. And also they didn't have any articulation in their knees, so they could barely walk. And even if they could walk, they couldn't do so without the help of some additional the top 10 facts about Springtrap in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. This idea was suggested by YouTube user Noelle Styles. And also, of course, before I start, I just want to say, warning, spoilers. Alright, let's go. So up at fact number 10 is that the purple guy is actually stuffed inside of Springtrap. At the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, we can see the purple guy trying to escape from the souls of the dead children that he has killed. And finally, finding nowhere else to go, he decided to go inside the Springtrap suit, which of course killed him. And also, if you pay attention to the rare screens of Springtrap, you can see what appears to be a withered, decaying human head. And now for fact number 9 is that Springtrap was actually present in both Five Nights 1 and Five Nights 2. However, the reason why you didn't see him is because he was hidden away in a secret room, which is actually hidden away from the animatronics as well as the cameras. And we know this because the phone guy says so on night 3 during Five Nights at Freddy's 3. This particular room is called the safe room, and it's where you go in case of emergency. And then for fact number 8 is, remember that scene from the trailer where you can see Springtrap twitching very violently? Well, what you're witnessing is actually the purple guy's death. That is the exact same scene as the one at the very end of Five Nights 3, where the purple guy goes inside the Springtrap and gets brutally killed by the spring locks. And then for number 7 is that it was actually revealed that Springtrap is the suit that was used to kill the children. In the second game, you can hear the phone guy say that a spare yellow suit in the back was used. And of course, we now know that that suit was used to lure the children into the back room. And now that I think about it, that back room could quite possibly be the safe room that we mentioned earlier. But yeah, I'll go into more detail about Springtrap being the suit used for the murders later on this list. And then for fact number 6 is by Reddit user Lord Charco III, and that is that it is actually unknown what Springtrap does to you when he catches you. I mean, the death animations don't really reveal much in that regard. He just calmly and slowly, leans into you. But what happens after? Does he, stuff you into a suit? Does he punch you? But either way, it is still pretty much insinuated that he does in fact kill you somehow. The question is just how, but I don't know, what do you guys think? How does he kill you? Tell me what you think in the comment section below. And then for fact number 5 is by Reddit user Jelly Liam, and that is that the name Springtrap is actually a mix between the words